How you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development. This is my 339th weekly update. So, I believe I spoke about it a little bit last week, where I just have not been feeling all that great, and that I was going to be pulling it back just a little bit this week, which I did in fact do. I did actually take my own advice and actually kind of just ease off the pedal a little bit. It's not the greatest timing to be having to do that, or being forced to do that, but I look at it this way: I'd rather walk into the comp 2 weeks from now at 80% rather than walk into it at 60%. So, which is, I've been feeling even less than that. I mean, I guess if I actually extrapolated the numbers out, I probably could give a real percentage of where I've been standing at, but that's sort of the idea behind being forced into this, which, it sucks a little bit, especially since Miami's is a bit of a heavier comp anyway, so having to deal with my body sort of not cooperating the way I need it to, it sucks, and I was kind of hoping to sort of do a little bit better this year, but it's not over. I know I'm capable of certain things, and I know the strength is there for, let's just say, certain things, and I'm going to attempt to do everything in my power to get myself sort of amped and ready for that. And that's what next week will be, a little bit heavier. I am already feeling a little bit better this week. Been sort of playing things smarter, I should say. And just easing back a little bit, focusing a lot more on sort of accessory movements rather than the main ones, and sort of not beating myself up too much about where I'm at and how things are going. Rolling with the punches, really. It is what it is, and getting frustrated about it isn't really going to help me any, so still optimistic, still looking forward to the comp. It's always a very well-run comp. Just keeping it in the back of my head that this might not be the most prepared I've ever felt, and you never know. I may still walk in there and surprise myself, which would be great. Regardless, I'll just talk about how this week went. A lot less volume on the main movements, which is generally what I'm looking for when I'm going into a comp like this, where it's heavier and there's going to be some 1-rep maxes. Essentially, there is a max deadlift, as well as the overhead event, which would be a new PR for me. They did adjust the weights, which even going in, I don't get scared of events where, let's say, I'll know I'm going to zero it or something like that, or I just know it's going to be a fight for me to even get to there. I don't back down just because I'm going to zero one event or something like that. I think that's kind of silly. It gives you something to shoot for. And on the overhead, originally they had it as a 245 axle and a 245 log, and they've actually since dropped it down to a 220 axle and a 220 log, which I am much more likely to actually have a chance of hitting day of. We'll see. There would still be a PR on either one of those if I manage to get either one, which I have been working towards increasing my overhead for sure. It's always been one of my worst strongman movements, has been my overhead, which is weird because I'm a relatively good bencher. I mean, any day of the week I can lay down and hit 290, just for example. And I hardly bench, so so it'll be fun to try to hit that. I'm gonna go out there and give it my all for sure. I a few years ago I was in a competition, the Scorcher, and the overhead event was 230 with an axle, and it was off of tires, which is pretty common for axle, just because the idea is if you drop it for whatever reason, it'll just bounce and it won't really damage the implement as much. But it does make the pull, in my opinion, a little bit harder because I'm not that tall. So when you're pulling from 9-inch, I have some time to sort of gain momentum with the implement, but when you're pulling from 16 inches, I don't really have that much time to get the momentum to sort of throw it up onto my stomach and my torso in order to complete the clean. I don't know how they're gonna have it set up here. We'll see. But at the Scorcher, I did just basically come up, touch it, and then just, nah, this isn't happening. I won't do that this year. I won't do this at Miami's. I will actually at least clean the damn thing and go for it as best as I can. And we'll just never know. Maybe all the adrenaline and everything will just sync up right, and I'll hit one, which would be awesome. I'll be super excited. We'll see. I've hit 205 before. I think, or maybe even 210. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I'm somewhere in the low 200s. So that would be cool if I could do that. But we'll see. But so volume's been lower, and especially on the squats and everything, just because my hip and back did flare up. And what I found on Monday was basically going into a deep pause squat. Didn't hurt. It hurt on the initial descent, and then when it was in the pocket and coming out of it, everything felt fine. So I sort of adjusted myself after that to do the same thing on Thursday and just work up to a heavier single. And what I ended up getting to was, I think, 265 for just a heavy paused single. And I still have speed coming out of the hole. Like, it's not like I'm weak. It just hurts. And instead I put on more weight on the bear squat. I went up to like 350 for sets of 5. Just so I have a similar movement pattern at least, where I am training my legs in some capacity. It's not a substitute for the squat, but it'll definitely, it's definitely a supplement for it, is the way I look at it. So rather than doing basically no volume at all, you know, just like 5 or 6 singles, which is all I felt like I could take, on a regular squat, I'm getting some extra heavier movement with the same pattern, which I think is a good thing. Let's see, where were we? Pressing. Yeah, see, this is where I'm getting real hesitant. I mean, 175 was heavy for me. Managed to get it for one set of 4, which is not terrible, but it's like, man, that it shouldn't have been as bad as it was. I should be doing like 185 for sets of 4, like I have in the past, but, you know, it's just not the way it's working this week, and that's fine. I just kept it there. My back down set went really good, 140 for sets of 6. That went super good. I actually just did 4 sets of 6 and just kept the rest period really short. And it was challenging enough, but I didn't miss any reps, so that was really good. Talked about squats already on Thursday, and then tonight, incline bench, worked up to a set of 2 at 205. I really want to have a 225 incline bench. But it's a very new movement for me. This is only like my 3rd or 4th week doing it. So I'm not that upset about it. And it is getting better, and I'm doing incline pause bench too, because I really want to work on that explosiveness off of the chest. And because I do have the capability and the tendency to do a bit of a layback when I press, it can only help me. If I get that static strength, you know, able to push 225 off my chest in, you know, an angled position, in theory, overhead, I should be able to push a little bit more weight. Especially if I can time it well with a push press, you know, the odds of my actual overhead going up are much higher. So that's what I'm working on. I didn't want to do a full breakdown this week about all my numbers and stuff, because honestly they're nothing good. Just imagine me, but at like 50% of what I'm capable of, what I know I'm capable of, but that's what I needed to do this week, and I forced myself to do that this week because I needed the break, and my body needed the break, and it needs to recover. You know, I've got 2 weeks. I'm still looking forward to it. I never stopped looking forward to it, and that's about it. So I guess the only words of wisdom this week are, if you need to pull back, don't be afraid to pull back, even when it's not the best time to do so. You'll probably do better to just pull back a little bit and go in the comp at, you know, like I said, like I'm probably going to be going in, you know, 80-something% versus 60. Optimally, you want to go in, you know, 95, 100%. But you're thrown curveballs. Life gets in the way sometimes. Training suffers. You got to adjust, and this is me adjusting, and still hoping for the best. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to be so heartbroken if everything doesn't go exactly how I'd like it to this comp, but we'll see. We'll just have to see how it goes. We'll see how training goes next week. I am training Sunday, be going very heavy with a training partner of mine and a fellow competitor in the 200 class. So I'll be training with him on Sunday, and we'll see how everything goes then. Yoke and farmers, I'm hoping my body just finally starts clicking on those again. Because, boy, when I ran them a couple weeks ago, I was like, whoo, this is not good. This is not good. I have never zeroed either one of those events in a competition, and I do not intend to. I feel like even at 50%, I should still be able to handle either one of those implements, within reason. Like 1,000 pounds is probably a little bit out of my range, but on a yoke, or like 400 pounds on a farmer is probably a little out of my range. But I think the yoke is 700 and the farmers are 270. It's within my range. I should be able to handle that. But you never know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes Sunday, and I'll let you guys know next week how that goes. And I guess the wisdom would be, don't be afraid to enter a comp just because you're going to zero an event. Bottom line is, you could go into a comp knowing you're going to zero nothing and still manage to zero something. Things happen. And one of the Masters guys, whom I'm pretty close with, told me one time, he zeroed an event. He said, you know what, I've zeroed an event before. I'll probably zero something again. It's not my first time zeroing, so probably won't be my last. And it is what it is sometimes, you just got to try to keep getting better. So if you're scared to enter a comp just because you'll zero something, hell, even all the events, it's not a good mindset to be. You're going to have to realize you got to push yourself sometimes. And if you go into a comp just because it's going to be easy, you're never going to progress as well as if you push yourself. So if you don't push yourself, then what's your excuse?